Alright, are we ready? Get everybody comfortable, got a snack, things like that. Hope you are, because we've come a long way. There was a lot of rough challenges in the book this time around, but we overcame everything. As you just saw, we took out the people with the finger as the clown. I didn't want to, but hey, fuck it, you know. So all of that to be rewarded with some interesting cutscenes here and some personalities that we're about to learn about in this season's Tome 5 edition of the Tome Along. Enjoy. Ta-da! Oh, it would help if I actually got to the rift here. Anyway. Or not that one, sorry. No, not that one. What do I usually click? Oh, the collection, duh. That thing. Oh. Holy shit. Did they not have any voiceovers? Am I gonna have to read this? Holy fuck. Dude. Why do I have to read all this? Is it all of them? Okay, no, it's that one. So this is for the blight. Oh no. Oh no. I'm gonna have to be the monotone inflection voiceover guy. Oh no. Alright. Got some apple juice here for just in case I had to do this. I'll give it my best attempt here. Did they wait? Hold on. Before I go through this, did they actually just recycle the Halloween event from like 2018 and put it in here? Gotta hide the camera and make it authentic? Here, what if we did this? What if we did this? Oops. Oh, not that. Hold on. Not that. What if we got rid of that and then we just did something like, oh, maybe not that, but this over here. Hold on. Boop. What if we did something like this to kind of just stretch it out and do something like this. Yeah, I didn't know that it was just going to be this fucking shit right here. And super authentic. Alright. Here we go. It is impossible to describe the horrifying scenes I have witnessed. Death and misery and every shape of terror rule this place. I can no longer recall how I've come to this place. All I remember is the opaque, milky fumes of opium in the murky den hazing a sweet, welcoming abyss. Alright, you want to tone it down on the adjectives there, pal? I awoke to dreadful screams in this endless night, at the feet to an old tree that leaked foul-smelling fluids. I know not how to reach those poor souls, nor do I want to. Keeping a record is all I can do to make a sense of it. I discovered a hidden laboratory while running away from a monster. Its stocks are uncommonly plentiful. I observed shelves of alkaloids, crates, and silver syringes, piles of protective clothes, and a journal signed Vigo. Its pages are filled with notes on an ancient force that controls the nature of this place. No fair. He said of instead of on. I'd like somebody to come over and fix that. That shapes it. I also noted a few drawings of the growing cankers I've seen on trees. I've been obsessively deciphering Vigo's journal. His work is elegant but erratic, drawing obscure conclusions from disjointed fields. Most entries mention a powerful force, the entity which undergoes a purge that occurs once a year. What, Jagger, what? What's the problem? I'm doing the best I can here. Yeah, I am. Don't tell me no. Here, you go out there. Here, if you disagree, you can go. Go. All right, then quiet from the peanut gallery, okay? Yeah, I'm reading. Okay? Where did I leave off at? Here we are. During this period, the entity is infested with blight. According to Vigo, cankers bloom into pustulas, a type of flower that spurts putrid nectar. The thick fluid I saw oozing from the trees. The last pages of the journal mention a serum distilled from the nectar, but the pages detailing its effects in preparation were torn out. You want to read with me? Okay, good boy. Good boy. I'm hiding in a dense strip of forest. I'm desperate to erase the distressful images engraved in my mind. Last night, a disfigured man barged into the laboratory with a gruesome, mechanical mouth and shred the walls into splinters. I barely escaped with my life, and wounded my arm in the process. I have no options left. These monsters find me no matter where I go. All I have is a journal filled with obscure promises of escape. I will return to the laboratory. I'm close to death. I can feel it. When I returned to the laboratory, I started experimenting with the putrid nectar and distilled into it a foul serum. But I made a terrible mistake. I injected the serum into a dead rodent whose pupils dilated and its body shook. I tried to restrain it, but the creature bit into my arm, ripping my wound open. I stopped the bleeding, but I fear the damage is done. Jesus Christ. Hey, I accidentally experimented on a dead rodent, and now I'm regretting it. Also, Jagger is trying to fight me over mini muffins here, which you can't see at the moment. Since I did bring some snacks that I wasn't expecting to read. Anyway, let's keep going. I awoke to a terrible cry booming from the cellar, and for a violent bout of nausea. Through the vile ordeal, I started to recollect what had happened. Tainted with the foul serum, my wound had swollen with lymph, at which point my assailant returned. Most of our fight was a blur, but I can recall red tears trickling down its gruesome cheeks as I clawed his face. Okay, well, that's... glad you got some offense in there, buddy. At some moment later when I kicked him, sending him crashing into a brick wall, the power I felt then, there are no words for it. I now know that there is truth to Vigo's methods. Another cry, my assailant now chained into the cellar. Must be getting restless. This is just the beginning. Alright, why'd you have to chain him in the cellar? What the fuck? Just beat the shit out of him, that's it. I should have foreseen his escape, given the potent dosage I administered him. But I need to see results. Pustula flowers are now blooming on the path leading to the laboratory. According to Vigo's journal, this rapid spread is a sign that the blight is at its peak. Soon there will be no more putrid nectar to extract. I slept very little. The acute throbbing in my wound sent me on a restless, agitated drowse. I have no strength left to be patient, and my distress fosters brutal methods. There are no lines I will not cross. I limited my rest to only a few minutes here and there. I cannot afford wasting time. Pustulas, once lush with nectar, were withering away at the roots of cankerous trees. I could only extract droplets from a few frail flowers. I'm running out of time. Based on Vigo's calculations, tonight is my last chance. I filled a syringe with the last drops of the serum and injected it into my arm. I did everything right, and failed. I'm stuck in this infernal place with no serum and nowhere to hide. I looked for Vigo. I shouted his name with no concern for the monsters lurking about. I need to find him. I picture the scene, etching a canvas of wild lines in my mind, focusing on the moon, and I know something is off. I fed the dead rodent under my pillow. What, for the Tooth Fairy? Like, I don't think the Tooth Fairy's gonna want, like, your dead rat, pal. Soon, very soon, I will be at peace. The cold claws of death are drawing near. It's here. The entity is here. It has found me. Alright, well, let's... There you go. Alright, let's see what this is all about. I think this is from the event from, like, a couple years ago. Let's see if I'm right. Hire me, DBD. I'll be your, Yeah, this is what they did in 2018, I think. I'll have to, like, I gotta check the VOD, even, to see if this is the case. Ooh. Oop, 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 oop. That's pretty cool. That was some CSI shit right there. Yeah, I think this is from 2018. Because it goes over here, yeah. You're gonna see, yeah, the next one's basically him getting his arm torn open here, I believe, from the thing. Spoilers. Or this guy, yeah. You haven't seen these? Okay. Sorry! Okay, Baines. I think I even made that same joke back then as well. Now he becomes Super Trapper! Poor Pumpkin. What did he do to deserve that? Come on. That's, yeah, because that was the other thing, was they wanted to hype up the outfits, and then that was one of them. I think was the first of many. Yeah. I remember, I thought it showed the rodent eating away at him, but maybe I'm not sure. Maybe I'm misremembering that. Uh-oh. Dr. Jekyll's turning into Mr. Hyde. Once Halloween's over, those all die out. Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of a trapper man, or something. And just walks off in the distance. So yeah, in 2018, they were hyping that guy up. That was obviously the Blight. Especially when you read all the lore and entries. I still have it somewhere. I'm just wondering if they just copy-pasted. I would have to double-check. I don't want to spend too much time on that. I'll try to look it up while the other guy's reading the entries here. I'll try to bring up the screenshots just to double check on that. But basically, yeah, he tests the serum on the Trapper, and that's when he becomes like Super Trapper and whatnot. But back in 2018, you had to. It was really weird because the event was kind of messed up because of matchmaking. So what they did was they just enabled both sides, because like survivors had to take up all those flowers and whatnot, and killers just had to, I think, hook people on the special hooks that had the pustulas on them. Hooking was easier than it was to get the flowers, because I think it wasn't like it was now. It was only one per person, and you had to get like 30, 40, or 50 of them. I can't remember. And you can exchange you would get coins basically for each vial that you had or something like that, and you could exchange that in the shop for the costume pieces. And I think if you check out Trapper real quick here, hold on. I think he's either, if I have it equipped or not. I I don't have it on him. Hold on. I didn't mean to spin him around. Go into the shop. Yeah, this. Because he's got the syringe in his back, if you can see up there. That's what turns him into essentially this. So rather than making the Trapper like buff and all that stuff, he just fucking gets a needle in his back, and then, you know, it was to hype up the costume, basically. But again, they because of the long queue times back then, which were atrocious than they were now, they decided, all right, we're just going to make it so that if you play Survivor, you can get this stuff, or if you play Killer, you can get this stuff. You can just hit 50 with whatever you can get, instead of getting it on this side only or this side only and whatnot. Yeah, I want to check here. Let's go back to this here. Dun, dun, dun. I'm a little disappointed that they recycled those, but at the same time, I get why they kind of incorporated the event. But back in, like I said, in 2018, that's when they that event happened, basically. I think it was 2018. I'll double check that. Anyway, moving on from that, Talbot Grimes. Here we go. I'll try to look up those screenshots.
In the vast desert of rubble and crumbling columns, he sees a flower. A single flower.
Oh, sorry, let me put
He
this.
shambles through the ruins and extends his hand into a blurring image. Stem and petals disintegrate before his touch. An illusion. He looks up, and there, another flower. He rushes toward it as the ground beneath his feet shatters. Endlessly he falls through the remnants of lost and forgotten realms. He wants it to stop. He can't take the rush of hot air and the feeling of his organs rising into his mouth. He hits the ground. Ribs jut out of his chest.
Ow.
Jagged bones rip through his fetid skin. Where am I? What is this place? He's in a half-remembered laboratory. He sees an emblem, the company. He remembers the wars, the opium wars. He remembers the prisoners and the experiments and his endless search for doorways into other realms. He found them, just not the way he thought he would. Warm blood pools around him as thousands of decaying prisoners in company fatigues grab and claw at him. This isn't happening. It can't be happening. You're dead. You're all dead. He closes his eyes. A collective roar, and the prisoners lift him over their heads and toss his broken body into a lightless dungeon. Dark, cold, lonely. He shivers and begs. One more flower. I'll do anything. Just give me one more flower.
No. Sorry. Okay. Doors unknown. Interesting.
Power is in the mind. The eye of the mind, as the mystics called it. The eye that lets us dream and visualize is more than we think it is. Much more. It is a key, and it opens doors. Endless doors. And the key is a secretion. A sacred secretion like a drug to travel within the endless worlds within the swirling chaos that is infinite life. Blasphemy! Take your ideas out of this school. They belong to the devil. He takes his ideas to the company and says the secretion is better than opium. He tells them there is no experience like it, and he calls it the Dragon's Doorway. Makes the high from the poppy seem like cough syrup. He remembers the mystics, the unknown mystics, mystics who chant hymns in the hopes they will die with the right vibration. Right vibration? What does it mean to die with the right vibration?
He's doing my voice.
It means they believe different vibrations open different doorways to realms unknown. Death opens the doorway, and the dragon carries you away. The company is interested. How would you harvest such an opioid if it's only secreted upon death? I'll find a way. And he does. Only they find him before he can complete his life's work. He vaguely remembers being bludgeoned to death and thrown in a mass grave of corrupting bodies, and he remembers being saved by 9 mystics in thick, dark tunics. Where are the 9 now? What have they done with my research? Why did they try to stop me? Questions, so many questions. Where is my flower? In your mind, he thrusts his fingers into his sockets and tears out his eyes and digs deep into his head, searching for a flower. One flower.
Come on, man, just one more. All I need is one more. All right, I have it here. Yeah, this was in 2018. Real quick. Real quick here. Let me... No, not that. Damn it. Here, let me stretch that out. Put this back in the corner. If I can show you... Oh, actually, let me get rid of that. Yeah, this was the Hallowed Blight event. I actually went back and screen capped every single one of these. Yeah, it's basically a copy and paste. It was really cool. It was 60, by the way. Yeah, 30 killer, 30 survivor. But then they just were like, fuck it, just get 60. Any means necessary. Yeah, as you see here, it's just basically the same thing. Yeah. So this is basically a rough draft of the tome now, if you will. Only the event was kind of, like I said, it was marred by bad matchmaking and atrocious queues. Mainly the queue times. So, there we go. Anyway. Just wanted to prove that. Anyway. Sorry, back at it here.
Even with no eyes, he can see. It doesn't make any sense. He clamours about the muck and grime. He slips and falls, and suddenly realizes he's clambering over a heap of rotting prisoners and addicts. He pushes through as the groveling men and women beg for more opioids, for tea, for syrup, for opium-laced candies. They make ridiculous promises. Take my house, my money, my children, take everything.
Take my wife,
Give
please.
me more, just a little more. They sound like him. He pushes through a blur of faces he vaguely recollects. Lives ruined, shattered, destroyed. Wasn't his fault. He hears a disembodied voice. Kill them all, and a flower you will have. He stares down at the agonizing men and women and withdraws his cane. Smashes through limbs and skulls furiously. Heads burst open like watermelons. Bones break like dry sticks. He doesn't stop until he stands atop a mountain of flesh, vomit, and gore. Where is it? Where's my flower? Find it! He falls to his knees and digs through the thick sludge of mangled humanity to search for a flower. Finds one. But just as he touches the flower, it withers away and disappears, along with the
Oh, is this what you
remnants
need?
of his
Oh,
past.
just kidding. I'm the entity and I want to see you suffer some more, basically. What a tease.
Talbot. My name is Talbot.
Nice to meet you,
He
Talbot.
remembers his name as he stares at 9 hooded figures approaching him.
Uh-oh.
He stumbles over a crumbling pillar with strange symbols written in a language he half remembers.
They're trying to recruit him to the
He
Stonecutters.
remembers the school, the secret school, and the mystics and the arcane knowledge they were protecting. He was getting too close, and he wasn't ready. Humanity wasn't ready. Knowledge without wisdom leads to self-destruction. He doesn't care about any of that. You condemned me. You all condemned me, left me to wither away. A hooded figure approaches him. You condemned yourself, Talbot. You condemned yourself.
I didn't
The
screw
9
Talbot.
hooded figures
Talbot
disappear
screwed Talbot.
as a massive dragon bursts through the ground and peers down at him with dead black eyes. The hideousness of its face transcends anything he's ever read about, seen, or imagined. An ancient evil quickened with dark life.
Oh, yeah, can we
Talbot
play that
trembles in a fog
Dark
of
Dragon?
madness
The
that
featured
envelops
update?
him. The ancient beast lashes out at him, snatches him in its talons, and swallows him whole. Mingled saliva and acid rips through his tunic and burns his skin to the bone. With screams of agony, he slowly disintegrates in a belly full of putrid, rotting death. watching his body and limbs melt into a gory, endless mass.
Dude, I hope that's in the cutscene. Black Shadow Dragon OP.
Talbot
Dragon
wakens
DLC
in a
went.
mass graveyard of skeletons and decaying prisoners of the company. He blinks and shakes muck from his hallowed eyes. He vomits everything in his guts and doesn't understand what's happening to him. Nothing makes sense except for his hunger. Please, I will do anything.
I'll read
Give
for
me
you.
what I ask, and I am yours. Give it to me. I need it. Vines suddenly burst through the decaying bodies and surround him. Flowers grow and bloom in all their glory. Beautiful golden serum drips like honey wherever his eye can see. He approaches one slowly and is scared to touch it. He extends his hand and touches the flower, and it doesn't wither away. He touches another and another. Nothing happens. He goes to grab the flower, but instead, the flower grabs him. Vines like tentacles burst out and wrap around him and rip through his veins. 9 hooded figures approach him with disapproving looks. Knowledge without wisdom leads to self-destruction. They inch up to him. Be careful what you wish for, Talbot. Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. So, I think we're gonna see the Blight here. Get fucked by a dragon. Or get vored, actually, I should say. Not fucked. Here we go. Dude, that'd be a sick wallpaper, actually. Whoa! Instead of 9... Huh. It's 9 pillars instead of the hooded figures. Interesting. That'd also be a sweet wallpaper. Grabs the cane. Dude. That's what I'm talking about. They make the fucking killers and survivors, well, mainly killers more badass than they actually are in the game. Because, like, that looked fucking amazing. Yet, when he fucking, you know, when you play as him, you have to bonk into shit. It's just, ugh, it's terrible. It's a letdown, I tell you. But that was pretty neat. No dragon, though. I'm a little bit disappointed in that. Had there actually been dragon or the 9 shadow figures, I would have probably, you know, like, that gets a thumbs up for me. Otherwise, it's like a medium thumb. Also, the tentacles coming out of his mouth there, oof.
Mia skates over to Falls City Park, searching for her friend Casey, but doesn't find her. She skates to her home, and her mother says she's in the Narrows,
Exactly.
handing out water bottles with a grassroots organization calling themselves Life Drop. Life Drop? The Narrows? What's Casey gotten herself into this time?
I don't know.
You know Casey. Probably some Save the Bees organization that just doesn't understand the way the world works. No such thing as the American dream anymore, only the corporate dream. And the corporate dream and the American dream ain't the same thing. She's
Preach.
read about the Narrows. Supposed to be the poorest and most polluted district in Falls City. Maybe it's because it's the poorest that it's also the most polluted. Maybe it's because of corrupt yet legal policy against those who can't afford the big lawyers to change or challenge the corrupt policy. Paper mills, car factories, toxic waste facilities, all dumping on the land and water.
So,
A few
Detroit?
politicians set the dollar price to poison the environment, and an entire community of blue-collar workers pay the price. The ultimate price with their health and lives. Nothing new, same old, same old. The fat cats and the bureaucrats keep doing it because they can. So long as there's money to be made in poisoning the world, someone will be there to make it. That's everywhere. Every city she ever read about, and Falls City ain't no exception. She used to care, but then there was too much to care about, and so she decided it was easier not to care anymore.
I agree.
Funny how that happened. All she cares about now is skateboarding and finding the impossible place to tag. Whatever. Maybe she'll find something to tag in the Narrows. She skates down the street following Upper Falls River toward the poorest and most polluted district in Falls City.
Yeah. Shout out to Detroit, though. That's a tough city to be in.
Can't save the world. What are you and the moms doing?
Skip ahead.
Nia approaches Casey and several middle-aged women handing out water bottles and cases to local residents. Casey turns to Nia. What are we doing? Anything we can to help. Nia laughs and nudges Casey. Let's go to the park. Casey nudges her back. Not today, Nia. This is important. Another day. Nia watches Casey and the other women handing out water to the poor. How many kids at home?
Flint,
3?
Michigan.
Okay, here's a dozen bottles. 4? Okay, take an extra container. When is our water going to be safe? Oh, the hell if I know. Is it dangerous to shower? To do the laundry? How bad is the water? Pretty bad. The water is killing our children.
Flint,
we need
Michigan.
a sensor to treat the poisoned. Nia listens to all the talk with horror and disbelief. She's never really had to think about something as basic and essential as water. And now, she's thinking about water. Polluted water. And the poor in her city.
Yeah, help out, Nia. Come on.
They're saying it's the worst case of Minamata disease in the country.
That's
She
a weird
doesn't
way
know
of
what
saying
that is.
Michigan.
Minamata. But it sounds bad. Real bad.
Oh.
What's Minamata? Casey looks upset or disturbed.
I
as
don't
she
know. What's
hands out another
Minamata to
container
you?
of fresh water to a resident. It's what happens when people are poisoned with mercury.
Ooh.
Nia sighs, feels for the residents, but knows shit happens and there's just not much you can do about it. We
Damn.
can't save the world, Casey. What's a few containers of bottled water gonna do? Casey freezes and gives Nia a look she doesn't quite understand. It's a moment before she responds. Yeah, well, maybe we can't save the world, Nia, but we can sure as hell make it a little bit better, and that's good enough for me.
Yeah, you tell him, Casey. Dude, ditch Nia and get Casey, like, a better friend here or something. Because, goddamn. Nia's just a drag here, I feel. Or going to be one. But yeah, that sounds like, that really sounds like Flint, Michigan, with what happened with the water supply over there. And supposedly it still is contaminated and all that. I don't think there was mercury. I think it was some other, like, awful stuff in there. Let's keep going.
Can't save the world, but we can make it a little better, and that's good enough for me. Nia thought about Casey's response the entire night as she researched the horrors of the Minamata disease. Deterioration of motor skills, walking and speaking degenerate, random convulsions, paralysis, children born with twisted limbs,
God.
all permanent side effects of mercury poison. Mayor cut a deal with a beverage company. They rerouted good, healthy water from a clean lake for a bottled water facility that bought the rights to the water and connected the Narrows to the old river system. They thought no one would notice. They thought it wouldn't be that bad. They thought wrong.
Ooh.
When mothers began losing their unborn children and everyone began to lose their hair, 50,000 residents began to notice. They noticed. They complained. But no one did a thing. Business as usual. Nia takes a deep breath and releases it slowly. She's never really had to think about water.
Oh my god.
And now that's all she's thinking about.
Hi, I'm Nia. I don't know how water works. I look like a cave woman. Anyway.
Come see this
I
creepy
hate
abandoned
Nia, by the way.
factory I just tagged.
Never
Casey
liked her.
shrugs. I have no time for your ego. Ego? What are you talking about? Casey shakes her head. Big deal, Nia. Your name on a ruined wall or whatever. Who cares? Why not stand for something? Say something. All that time and energy just to say you tagged a scary place? Whoopee. Big fucking deal.
Tell him, Casey.
Nia scrunches her face. She feels under attack. What's going on with you?
What's
Casey
going on
shrugs.
with you?
I don't know. If you'd at
I'm
least
Nia.
piss off a tyrant, you would have done something with your art, if that's what you want to
Stars.
call it. Nia doesn't say anything. She doesn't know what to say. She takes her board and heads down to the Narrows. She stares at the overgrown and abandoned factories lining the river. They came, they profited, they left. It's so stupid and it's so simple. You poison the water, you die. No money or power or law will change that.
Except for maybe the law of science, where if you take the pollution out of the water and the poison and all that to remove it, then the water's fine. Hooray! Laws of science. Bill Nye. Anyway, let's keep going.
The Zyder production mill. That's where I'll do it. They dumped crap in the river for years, destroying the camping and fishing industry all over the country. 20 years later, the Narrows dies a slow, agonizing death, and there's no justice, and there probably never will be. There isn't even an investigation or a hospital or a center to treat the poisoned. The environmental agency says everything's fine, but it isn't. It really isn't. No one wants to say it's mercury poisoning. To admit to mercury poisoning is to admit fault. To admit fault is to help the Narrows and pay for a cleanup. The city doesn't want a lawsuit. No one is moving or doing anything, and yet children are suffering and dying. Children are suffering and dying, and no one is doing anything, and Nia can't stop thinking about them. It takes a special kind of evil to poison children.
Yeah.
Something about the whole thing makes her want to get involved. Real involved, like her friend Casey.
Yeah, now she's coming around.
Maybe she should tag those so-called public servants who only serve themselves.
Yeah, I never liked Nia as a character in the game because it's just she had like different colored hair. Well, actually, no, that came later. But like, I never liked Balanced Landing. I always preferred Sprint Burst. Urban Invasion's pretty good, and Streetwise is all right, but like, nobody really uses Streetwise nowadays, sadly. At least not those that I've seen. But yeah, I never liked her. And I don't know. A lot of people were just like assholes playing with her, and then I think when Fang came around, that's when people made the swap and started playing Fang and things like that. Because of Lithe, or Lith rather, as I call it, and some other perks and whatnot as more characters came down the line, things like that. Anyway, onward.
Nia skates to the side wall of the bottling factory. They make glass and plastic bottles for fresh water and dump their chemicals and poisons in the river. How fucking stupid is this place? How stupid is the city and that bastard of a mayor to allow such a thing?
I don't know what he
She
impersonates
searches for the perfect spot, the perfect surface to tag. She sees a spot high up in the open. That should annoy them. She sneaks to the front door, sees a camera, spray paints the lens of the camera, begins to tag the wall. They poison water to provide bottles for good water. Absurd, ridiculous, unbelievable. Nia finishes her good work with time and paint to spare. She searches the premises and finds a large white garage door. Smiles. Perfect. She'll tag her name nice and big for everyone to see. That ought to piss off a tyrant, as Casey says.
Stars.
The cause is actually getting to Nia, and she wishes her art would piss the factory and the city enough for them to clean up the river. Wishful thinking.
What?
They came, they
What?
profited, they left. Left an entire community poisoned. Gotta be laws against that, and maybe even a death sentence for those who knowingly poison children.
How? Okay, time out. Why would a water company give two shits about somebody graffitiing their property and just be like, oh man, somebody tagged our property. I guess we have to make clean water now. Like, what? That's not how that works. Like, what the fuck? How do you draw that conclusion? I don't understand. Anyway.
So you tagged their building. Big deal. Means nothing. You got your name out there. That's what you did. But
Thank
what
you.
does that name stand
Thank
for?
you.
Nia doesn't know how to respond to Casey. She's never
Big
really
brain
attached
Casey
a
over here.
message to her street name like others. It's just not something she thought she'd ever do. It's not about a message. It's about art. Casey says art is the message. Art is rebellion. Some call it preaching. Who said that? Who made that up? The corporations, Nia. Of course they did. Get artists scared of using their art, of saying anything against their abuse, and they win. Centuries ago, artists protested tyrant kings, and those tyrants did all they could to own or stifle their art through fear of poverty or fear of death. Nia, kings still exist. They do, just in different ways. Today, the kings are CEOs, and their kingdoms are corporations, and some are good kings, and others not so good. And the not-so-good ones have found other ways to keep artists in line, scare them in school, tell them not to make a statement, tell them to stand for something, appeal to all, just entertain and inspire, but don't say something. Don't be political.
Yep,
Nia,
I've heard that before on Twitch.
Everything is political.
Yep.
Not to say something is to say something.
Yep.
Turning your back and ignoring corruption is a choice,
Yep.
a political choice of indifference. Nia sighs. She doesn't know.
I'm Nia.
She's
I don't
not
know how
sure.
things work.
She's never really done it before
I'm not
like
an
the
expert
others.
on politics.
It's always kind of rubbed her the wrong way. Casey scoffs at her tag. Stand up for something or stand for nothing. Your choice as an artist. Your political choice.
Dude, Casey is woke, man. I'm actually kind of glad Casey's not in the game because I feel like she'd be too much of a big brain character to play as. She'd probably like bring all sorts of stuff to the table to kind of out meta people or something. That'd be great. Anyway, let's keep going.
Come with me. Casey jumps on her board and leads Nia into the Narrows. She leads her to a home where a father helps his son eat food in his bed. He's only 11. Never had a chance. The only mistake was trusting those who were supposed to protect him. He's dying. Mercury poisoning. Before, people in the Narrows died of natural causes. Now it's all mercury poisoning. Casey sighs and shakes her head. You sign your tag over the culprit's garage door and all you've done is advertise your street name. I heard your bullshit about not using your tag for a cause. What's the use of a tag then? What's the use of a voice if you ain't gonna say anything? Ain't gonna stand up for something? Art is an act of defiance, not an act of profit, not an act of fame. Say something, Nia. Let the world know what's in your heart. Someone just might listen and do something. Lend your voice to the voiceless. Not rebel without a cause. Rebel with a cause.
I don't think Nia's Neanderthal brain here is going to be able to comprehend that. Which honestly, that would be a great way to... That'd be a great turning point, is like Nia's actually a Neanderthal from like olden times or whatever. NEA, and I believe that's the same first three letters in Neanderthal. Anyway, let's keep going.
Nia thinks about what Casey said as she lies in bed staring at a glass of water. Casey's right, and Nia remembers a time when she wanted to say so much as a street artist. Somehow that got stamped out of her. She tries to remember how it got stamped out of her. The only thing she can think about is school. No messages, no politics, nothing. Just inspire and entertain. Yet corporations have messages in politics. Politics of selling. She remembers being told not to use art for politics. Yet who does that benefit? Kings. Tyrant kings trying to own voices or stifle voices by creating an inner self-editor that begins in school. Keep politics out of it. Keep politics out of it. Everything is politics, even the act of trying to stay out of politics. Politics. Fucking corrupt mayor. Bastard didn't just switch good water for poison water. He sold the good water to a corporate king. Absurd. Ridiculous. Unbelievable. She never heard of such a thing. No one should own the rights to water. No one. Water belongs to everyone, to all living things.
Now you're getting
Nia
it.
stares at a spray paint can on her dresser. She thinks of something to say. Something to make people stop and take notice. For the first time in a long time, she doesn't care if it's a message or a political statement. Screw her high school art teacher who made her feel insecure about making statements with her
Yeah.
creations. Water is health. Water is strength. Water is a human right.
That's a chant right
Water
there.
is a human right. A basic human right.
Yes. Yes. Why did it take like literally like 4 pages for Nia to grasp that fucking concept? Like, what the hell?
Nia is amazed at how many poor communities shower, bathe, cook, and do their laundry in poison water because a few kings bought the rights to their good water.
Yep.
It's absurd, ridiculous, unbelievable. She's never felt so involved in a cause before, and she likes the feeling. Possibly her first cause since school tried to stifle her voice with fear of making mistakes, of saying something, of having a message, of going against the corporate dream. Not the American dream, the corporate dream.
Yeah.
Nia surfs the net and reads about the kings and their scramble for fresh water.
Internet should
all
also be a
over the
basic
world.
human right, by the way.
She's happy to read it's not going so well. In every country where these tyrant kings tried to own fresh water, they were kicked out by the people.
Yeah.
Yet these stories are difficult to find. Kings losing battles to peasants is rarely breaking news or news at all.
Yep.
Almost like the kings want to make sure no one gets inspired to fight against them as they desperately scramble to buy up all the water they didn't poison. They want it all. They want to sell it, and they don't want peasants getting in their way. Water is everything. Owning water is like owning life. Owning water is deciding who lives or dies. And that's what the kings and the mayor did in Falls City. They condemned and poisoned an entire community and did nothing to help them. And did nothing. Nia hopes in a higher justice, one that can't be owned or bribed, and she swears she'll turn the mayor's new luxury car into a work of rebellion. Can't change the world, but you can make it a little bit better.
That's true.
A little bit better. That's enough for her.
Could also make my world a little bit better with Twitch sub or two, Just throwing that out there. Just throwing out anyway. I'm not sure what to expect from the cutscene here, other than it's just Nia going around tagging things and just being like, "That's a great job." So let's see what this is. Oh, this is different. I was expecting a... Oh, that must be the mayor. Oh, there's the luxury car, Nebraska. Okay. Yeah! Vandalize that shit!
Hey.
No, my new car! Is he just gonna run her down? I did it for the water! Uh-oh. She lost her hat. Well, ironic that water was what basically killed the mayor there. That was great. Like, he was going so fast that he lost control of the car and just fucking hit the shit out of a tree. Wow. Why isn't the mayor a killer? Like, what put the mayor in the game. Damn. Literally doing nothing. Nia on her bed, staring at a glass of water. Literally doing nothing but just staring at the glass of water. Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was pretty neat. I like that. Oh, he's the clown? Well, yeah, he's got the size of him. I mean, if he eats, if the clown likes shrimp like he likes fingers, then got a correlation. Yeah, that was pretty good. And they actually made Nia not look like a Cro-Magnon for once. So I'm kind of happy for that. So that was actually pretty good. A man. Oh, this is the hillbilly.
In the darkness of his
Let's
cell,
see.
he hears footsteps approaching.
Wait, hold on. You forget the clown's name. Let's see what it is here. Hold on. Real quick. We'll get back to that in a sec. It is... Kenneth Chase. Yeah. So if that was Mayor Kenneth Chase. Yeah. Anyway. We might have a crossover there. That would be actually kind of cool. That'd be a great way to just interact killers with different survivors and things like that. Anyway.
In
Sorry.
the darkness of his cell, he hears footsteps approaching. He hears laughter and gossip. His father with others. He's not sure who he's with. He puts his ear to the door and hears a laugh. A deep, guttural laugh. He feels his skin crawl and his stomach twist in knots. It can only be Chief. He hates Chief, especially when he's with his pa. They make him do all kinds of things for fun and laughs. His pa brags about his killing tool, as he often calls him. More laughter. Other voices. Chief brought some deputies to enjoy the show. He wants to smash them all to bits just to make them stop laughing. Everyone laughs at him. The whole world laughs at him. He grinds his teeth with frustration. They ain't supposed to laugh. They're supposed to protect him, and he knows it. He's seen it on his TV. The only thing that calms him and keeps him company when he's done his work. TV is something special. The friend and parent he never had. But Chief ain't like those on TV. He's
Chief for
another
TV
kind
game.
of chief of police. The
Uh-oh.
kind that works with Pa to clean money. He doesn't even know what that means, but he overheard them by the pig pen talking about cleaning a whole load of money and sharing that load with a judge and other men of the law. They clean money together. That's why Chief lets Pa and Ma do whatever they want to him.
Ooh.
Chief is crooked, his pa always says. Crooked like his boy's face. The laughter grows louder. They approach his brick dungeon, and he shivers at the thought of more slaughter. He's tired of killing to make a few deputies laugh. Real tired. He feels his blood boiling, feels it rising through his neck, feels it pushing up his face like it wants to burst through his skull. A sudden high-pitching whistling noise fills his ears. He hits his head over and over again until the whining stops.
Ow.
Silence returns. For a moment, just a moment, and then a chain rattles. Bolts snap loudly and he loses balance and falls back to his haunches. The door opens, filling his brick cell with blinding sunlight. He covers his eyes with his arm. His paw steps inside, grabs him, and yanks him to his feet. Come on, boy! Let's show these deputies your
Come on, boy.
worth.
This is my problem. Real quick, before I go into the next one, this is my problem with a good chunk of the stories for the killers. Like, in the game, they're killing the survivors and whatnot, but here they add like a shit ton of sympathy for them. Like Wraith, Spirit, just to name a couple. Technically Trapper, Huntress, really, even though she kidnapped children. Specifically little girl children. They just make you sympathetic towards them. I mean, technically nobody's there by their own will. That's true. That's very true. But like, I don't know, it's just super weird to play the sympathy card for killers that are supposed to be, for the most part, sort of fearful or fear-inducing rather of like they're supposed to make you scared and afraid and things like that, where they have these like gut-wrenching backstories, and I think we're in for one here. So let's continue onward. Exception for being like a few people. Pyramid Head is there because he was called for the purpose of punishment, yeah. Doctor was basically an asshole. They haven't done, I think it's just going to be like homegrown DBD characters, because they haven't done a single DLC that's like licensed and whatnot. So I'm kind of curious how they would be able to, if they're even able to draw up lore without either like spoiling movies or the content that they're from, or getting permission to just be like, hey, we want to kind of write a backstory. Is it okay if we put your IP to this imaginary work here? Bubba's there because he was terrified and alone and just doesn't want to disappoint the entity like he feels like he did with his parents. Yeah. Let's continue on. But yeah, I feel like we're gonna probably, this might be like another sympathy write up here, which I'm not against, but it's just it's weird to go that route. Wraith, for example, last season as well. He was another one.
In the sweltering barn, he stares at the blood dripping from his hammer, feeling as though he were in a dream. Strange, weird, unhinged. No, not a dream. More like he's living on a TV show, watching himself from a distance. Slaughtered cows, thick and wet, all around him. 7 or 8 of them writhing helplessly in warm, coagulating blood. Heads cracked open, brain and gore spilling out. Flies buzzing around him, buzzing in his face, buzzing in his ears, telling him this slaughter is who he is. This senseless slaughter is his worth. His only worth. Kill. That's what they love to watch you do. Kill, kill, kill. The flies are laughing at him, laughing with Chief and his deputies, telling him he's so useless he don't even have a name. Boy, what kind of name is that? His pa shoves him toward another cow. You ain't done yet. Boy raises his hammer and shakes blood from his eyes. He feels strange, weird, unhinged, fed up. He's had enough of this life. The cell, shoveling manure, slaughter, endless slaughter. And taking care of those pigs, those prized pigs. Pigs given more love by his parents than he ever got.
That's why
the
he's
flies
wearing
circle
the
his
outfit.
face and laugh at him. The high-pitched whining returns. The pigs got names and you didn't. Duke and Donnie. He swats the flies. Pa nudges him. Come on, boy. Show him you can do more with that hammer. Boy. That's what Pa calls him. Boy. That's what Ma calls him. They think he's too dumb to know he doesn't have a name, a real name. He knows. All his life he knew. He knew and imagined himself as Max. Max Thompson. Imagined his pa was so proud of him that he gave him his name. How he dreamed to have his father's name. How he dreamed. Pa shoves him. Come on! Show him now! Boy feels his face fill with blood, his veins swell with fury, his temples throb maddeningly. The next moments are a blur. Blood and screams everywhere, not bovine, human. The whining begins again and he's confused, searching for his pa, but not finding him. The whining stops and everything is muffled. He turns to see Chief charging him. What have you done? Boy doesn't really hear him. It's like when Ma held his head in a bucket of water to teach him not to call or cry for her when he was a child. Everything's muffled, distorted, surreal. Chief tackles him and grabs the gory hammer out of his hand. You killed him! Your pa, Jim, Don, Ray, my men, my fucking men! Boy pushes Chief off and tumbles out of the barn drenched in blood, heading toward the main house, screaming for his ma in the growing dusk. Ma sobs on the ground with a mouthful of cracked teeth. Boy lifts her with one arm and a flood of inarticulate words rush out of his mouth. Words he only understands. Words the TV taught him. He wants to know his name, his real name. She just stares at him, confused, lost, desperate. She gurgles blood and chips of tooth slip down the side of her face as she begs for her life. Even if she understood what he was saying, she could tell him nothing. My name, what's my name? Boy slams his ma against the ground again and again. He lifts her over his head and hurtles her against the kitchen table. It breaks under her weight. Blood gushes from a wound in her leg. She loses consciousness. He feels bad and holds his limp body. Why did you hate me? What did I do to make you both hate me so much? Her face is beautiful and hideous at the same time, evil veiled by beauty. He hugs her harder and harder, wishing everything would have been different, wishing he were one of those damn pigs. They spoiled them with love, affection, and time, all that time they spent with Duke and Donnie while he groveled nameless and alone in a dungeon built just for him. He tries to lift her, but slips in a pool of her blood. She struggles in his embrace. Every time he asks the question, he squeezes her tighter and tighter. My name? What's my name? Her struggles cease, and she jerks spasmodically.
That's a good
Tense
word.
arms and legs go limp. He releases her slowly. Her head thumps hard in a puddle of blood.
Ow.
She stares upward with blue, vacant eyes. Beautiful blue, vacant eyes. Eyes that only saw a monster, a thing, a beast of burden to work the farm. Never a son, never her son. He hates those eyes. Those hateful eyes. He rips them out and squeezes. They pop like bovine eyes. He smiles and doesn't really know why he's smiling. He wipes blood off his face and likes the mushy feeling in his hands. He hears a foot pound the floor behind him. Chief suddenly rushes into the kitchen. I'm gonna smash your head with your own goddamn hammer.
I
But
don't
as he
think so,
lifts
pal.
the hammer, he slips in an inch of warm blood. Boy panics and rushes outside into the darkening woods, with Chief screaming and cursing and bullets whipping by him.
Alright. I'm going to throw this out here right now. I do not deal with eye torture that well. Yeah, like a damn cartoon scene. Everybody's slipping in blood. If the fucking cutscene has somebody's eyes getting yoinked out, I am going to be squeamish. Like, it's going to be not pretty here. But I really do hope that there's slapstick involved, I have to say, in the cutscene. Because holy shit, that sounded hilarious. Everybody just like, slipping around.
Boy doesn't know how long he's been running, but he's tired. He hears Chief yelling and hollering after him in the distance.
Explains why he's
Says
a good
he
runner in the
regrets the
game.
day he told his parents to keep him as a farmhand. Says he told Ma and Pa that a monster kid would make a damn good worker.
Oh.
Says other things too, things Boy doesn't want to hear. Your parents tried to kill you, let a pot of boiling water spill over you and told us you were a clumsy child. They says you pulled the pot down from the stove, but I knew better.
That
I
explains the
seen
face.
right through 'em. Too embarrassed of their deformed kid that they poured scalding water over him. Tried to kill you. Tried to make it look like an accident. Boy covers his ears. Flies buzz about, laughing. He doesn't want to hear this. A high-pitched ringing echoes through his mind. Stop, stop, stop! But it won't stop. He knows he's the only one who can hear the whining and laughing flies. He knows he hears things. He knows his pa hurt him, hurt his head, screamed too loud in his ear when he was a baby, screamed mean things like he wished Ma's belly cord strangled him completely and not just halfway.
Oh my
He
god.
takes a moment to gather himself. He hears other voices. Chief called in more deputies. Doesn't matter. Let them come. They all deserve to pay for doing nothing while his ma and pa made him suffer.
I do think we're about to get some vigilante justice.
Boy squeezes the neck so tight, screams quickly fade into pathetic whimpers. Easier to kill a man than a cow. Only a man makes much more of a fuss. Boy stares in the deputy's panicking eyes and knows this one. Knows him well. This one laughed at him many times, laughed at him when he should have helped him. Who's laughing now? Didn't you watch TV? The police are supposed to help, not hurt. Laugh at me now! Boy lifts him off his feet and pounds the back of the head against a tree, over and over again. Laugh now! Laugh! Laugh! The skull splits open like a melon and brain mass hangs from one side. Boy
That's gotta
releases
be
him,
Amori.
and the dying deputy can barely keep his balance. He toddles left
on.
and right and stops in front of Boy. And for a moment, he stares at him as though seeing something more than a tool or a freak show. Something smarter than a mule. Smarter and deadlier. The deputy seems lost and confused, like a mindless zombie on TV. The trembling, confused deputy shuffles forward, feeling his wet, mushy head. Boy moves to the side to let him pass, and stares at his good work, stares at the gore dripping from his skull like putty, watches him stagger left and right in the moonlight. If he were a cow, he'd end his suffering. But he's not a cow. He's something else. Something vile and corrupt. Boy watches him disappear in the shadows. He stares at the darkness until he hears a thud. A strange feeling fills his heart and he laughs. Feels good to fight back and show them his worth. His real worth.
That would be a great fucking Mori where he just fucking takes like the back of somebody's head off and it's just like brain throbs and such. Rather than, oh, you go to chainsaw somebody, but we don't see it. Let's keep going. This is making me feel good about the hillbilly.
Boy hears Chief searching frantically for him. He sits by a tree covered by bramble, squeezing a handful of deputy brain. It's got the same texture as cow brain. He probably couldn't tell the difference if he had a lump in each hand. He squeezes and likes the feeling. It soothes him, calms him, relieves his anxiety. His thoughts wander to his favorite TV shows. Ma and Pa let him have a TV to shut him up. They got tired of him smashing the wall and crying for them. Nothing worked. Not the gag or the rope that he always managed to get out of. Only the TV. TV was better than any constraint. It kept him sitting down, passive, complacent, and quiet. Ma said it hypnotized him, and that was a good thing. The TV showed Boy so many things. Showed him how different his life was from other children. Showed him what parents should have been like. He wishes his parents were more like Clark's parents. They made a hero out of their son by just being good to him and raising him right. They took good care of him and he wasn't even theirs. Or the other parents, the parents of that other boy, Beaver. He had a good family.
Leave it to Beaver.
But he wasn't like them. He wasn't like Clark or Beaver. He came into the world hurt, deformed, and weak like a runt. His pa told him he had wanted to stuff him in a bag with rocks and throw him in the lake.
Oh my God.
Tough love, tough life, tough everything. He hears deputies shouting in the distance. Boy feels scared and does what he usually does in his brick cell. He closes his eyes and thinks of Clark and waits for the greatest of all heroes to save him. He never comes, and it's not like TV. He's always there to save the day. He's always there to help those who need help. But TV ain't
Clark
reality,
Kent, maybe?
and he's alone. He's alone because he was born a crooked little beast.
Oh.
Boy opens his eyes and stares at the gory lump in his hand. Doesn't matter. Enough waiting. He's his own kind of hero today.
Yeah, Clark. I wonder if they're referencing like Superman. Huh. Because Beaver is obviously from Leave It to Beaver. Clark, I'm trying to think of old-timey television shows that had like Clark as their protagonist son or something like that. I'm not sure. But I want to say, but the fact that they said that they took good care of him and he wasn't even theirs kind of makes it seem like that's the Superman, I think. I could be wrong on that. I could be way off, but anyway, let's keep going.
Chief screams his anger. Found bits and pieces of another deputy. Boy is picking them off like cattle in a barnyard. Chief swears to hell and beyond he'll make him pay.
Yeah, this is around the 60s,
pay?
yeah.
Me? You're the one who's gonna pay for
That's what I was
letting
also
me
trying to
rot in
figure
that
out.
cell for all those years. Chief calms down and calls someone. Tells them to bring the dogs. Bring them. Won't make a difference. No matter what, he ain't ever going back to that cell or any other cell for that matter. He'll die 1,000 deaths before they ever lock him up again. He wants to rush out of the darkness and grab him, but something tells him that's exactly what Chief wants. He's trying to lure him with hurtful words. Boy sits in the shadows and stirs the dry leaves with one hand. He sees a deputy approaching with a flashlight.
That sounds about right,
He
Salem.
grabs a thick branch and slowly rises and inches toward him. A hare springs in the air and bounds away. The deputy trains the flashlight on the rodent. He releases an anxious breath just as Boy swings the branch like Babe Ruth. Head and neck are smashed open, and the dark contents splatter on the trees and ground. Yet the deputy doesn't fall. He stumbles here and there with his smashed head barely hanging by sinews of flesh, his hands desperately reaching out and feeling the cool night air. Reminds Boy of a decapitated chicken fluttering about the yard searching for its head. Boy smiles and feels liberated. He laughs to himself. Another deputy made clean. His pa cleaned Chief's money. Now Boy cleans his deputies.
Ooh.
Like father, like son. He thinks of Chief and loses his smile. He could have helped him. All those years, he could have helped him.
Not looking good for the Chief. This is not looking good for the Chief. I don't know how the Chief hasn't hightailed it out of there yet, but holy shit, this is not looking good for the Chief. And again, this is kind of like, you shouldn't be, this is what's weird, is like you shouldn't be rooting for the killer because, I mean, the killer's kind of fucked up, obviously, but he had a rough upbringing that they're trying to hook you and cinch you with, but I have to look at the hillbilly at a different spotlight now, you know? Vengeful justice. I mean, this is kind of sympathetic for Max, but like, vengeful justice, yeah. Chief about to fucking die, too.
Boy, you want to know your name? I knows it. Come out and I'll whisper it in your useless, mangled ear. Chief's playing games with him, and he ain't gonna be fished. Chief swears he's gonna hunt him all night, and that he's got dogs coming. Dogs
Oh,
that
don't
can
hurt the
track a
dogs,
cricket
come on.
fart in a pile of manure. Boy didn't even know crickets farted. He learned a lot of things on TV, but never that. The thought of a cricket farting makes Boy smile. He likes smiling. He crawls closer to the police crew.
The fuck?
2 new men on the hunt with Chief, but he doesn't see any dogs. He figures he best take them down before the dogs arrive. He's seen police dogs on TV. They can sniff out anything. These deputies seem angrier than the last. He's not sure if it's because he felled their friends or if he ended their cleaning racket with his pa. Maybe both. He just gets the sense if they catch him, they'll make him suffer and squeal like a pig. Those pigs. Those damn pigs they loved so much. Why did they have to love them so much and him so little? Had they treated him like those pigs, he would have been happy. He would have been happy, and he would have been something else. He would have been a hero like that boy who wore a cape and helped the world, all because of how his ma and pa raised him.
Yeah, so this is like in the 60s then. I feel like if anyone showed Max a pig, he'd lose his fucking mind again like this, yeah.
Boy creeps up behind 2 deputies.
He better not meet Amanda if there's ever a 2v8
He
mode.
slowly raises a pointy branch, leaps out, knocks one head, and thrusts the branch through the mouth of the other before he can yell for help. He stares down at the blood gushing out like a geyser. Reminds him of a scene in a cowboy movie. He approaches the other deputy. The deputy turns and grabs Boy. They roll over the crunching leaves and fallen branches, exchanging blows. Boy manages to wrap his arm around his neck and squeezes. Legs thrash wildly here and there. Boy squeezes until they stop at once. He hears Chief calling back his deputies. He tells them to come back, says the dogs have arrived. Boy retreats into the bramble and shadows. He closes his eyes, imagines a different life for himself. He's the Beaver Boy, sitting at a table, eating a wholesome meal with his pa and ma, and they're asking about his day. Then everything changes when he speaks. The sounds upset his ma. She beats him across the head, holds him down, and pours hot sauce down his throat and tells him to never speak again. His pa grabs him and gives him a lashing with his belt. His eyes spring open. Everything could have been so different had he not been born a monster. Born a monster? Monsters aren't born. They're made. Made in a crucible of hate, cruelty, and abuse. Hot sauce and belts. That's the stuff of monsters.
That really is funny out of context, because I was just like, I read that last sentence, I was like, oh my god. Ugh. So that gives you an idea of how they tortured him. You know, aside from the fact that there was boiling water on his face. And why were they boiling water? Because they were in Nebraska and the water was poisoned. There you go. There's the fucking loop right there. No, I'm just kidding. Although that would be interesting if this all took place in the 60s, like the entirety of DBD, but I don't think that's the case. Also, I'm wondering if the Thompson house is basically where the hillbilly is supposed to be, because that is technically his home map, I guess. Feng Min couldn't, yeah, because of the esports thing, and the esports weren't a thing in the 60s, sadly. Yeah, never mind. Also, it would be interesting to see. It's like a weird hypothetical, but it would be interesting to see how killers would interact with one another if they were all in like a room together, you know, socializing or trying to socialize. Thompson House makes sense. Yeah. But they spell it without the P, I think, in the thing here. So I was just wondering if that was possibly a typo or what. It might be, I don't know. Right, anyway. Let's see how this wraps up, and then I'm assuming this fucking cutscene is going to be off the wall.
Your pa says you want to know your name? Stop running and I'll tell you your fucking name. Boy stops running. The barking of dogs grows louder and louder. He turns toward Chief's voice and sees moonlight dappling through branches and leaves.
Chief's about to get fucked.
He shifts about in the silence, not sure what to do. Chief's voice grows louder. Your pa gave you a name before he realized you were a crooked freak of fucking nature. Your name shames him. That's why he hides you. You want to know your name? Come out with your hands up and I'll tell you. Before Boy realizes what's happening, a dog rushes out of the darkness and attacks his arm with a vicious mouth of sharp teeth and dripping slobber. Boy wheels towards a vague, fast-moving shadow and grabs the wrist before the hammer crashes down on his head. He throws the dog against the tree. He's never felt such strength, such power, such resolve.
Poor doggy.
I have a name. He shakes the wrist, and the hammer falls with a thud in the gloom below. Boy wrestles Chief to the ground. Chief pulls out a knife. Boy grabs Chief's wrist and forces him to plunge it into his own belly. See my worth now, Chief? See my worth? Chief pulls the bloody knife out, but Boy doesn't give him a chance to react. He plunges his hand into his warm gut and squeezes something he doesn't quite recognize. Chief shrieks in agony, "Son of a bitch!" The dogs leap at Boy and rip him off Chief before he can do more damage. Boy smashes the dogs to the ground and searches for his hammer to finish his good work. Dogs slowly rouse and bark. He grabs a branch, smashes them hard, and charges away before they attack again. He runs for what feels like forever through the cold, dark woods and heads toward the farm. Toward the house where he always should have lived. It's still not too late. There are secret rooms in the basement. Rooms where his pa hid his money, and where his pa and ma could hurt him without anyone hearing his screams. He bets he could hide there a long time before anyone ever found him. He bets it would be real cozy, especially with his TV.
Yeah, but who's going to pay the electric bill?
He'll find his name, his real name, in his pa's stuff. But not before he cooks himself some bacon. Some prized bacon.
Nice. That's pretty good. The clip is absolutely just going to be him making bacon. I'd be okay with that. Also, I have a really good... if I ever get a Stream Deck, and like... I don't know if I do get one for this computer, I think it's the computer's too old for it to like play sounds in real time, and I think it would just like, it would struggle a little bit. But if I ever get one, I think I know I don't want to say it in case anybody happens to to see this, but there's the perfect sound clip in one of these that I'll definitely have to soundbite and then just fucking play it on stream whenever I'm like playing the game or whatever. Alright, anyway. Here we go, and then we get into the miscellaneous stuff here. Jesus. Ooh! Ah! Yeah, learn to count your bullets, pal. Make bacon, make bacon, make bacon. Aw, come on. Pigs eat anything. That is very true. So this last one here is just basically some miscellaneous memories here. There's usually no cutscene to them, but it's supposed to give you a little bit more in-depth look on how the entity works and acts. I think it's from the guy in the chair with his little... I forget the actual name of the thing. We learned that last tome, but it's his little plaything. That's basically who I think what the memories are from, is from this guy in the chair in the background, I believe. I'm not entirely sure on that. So.
Arcus, 7525.
That was gnarly, by the way.
It's hard to say what came over me.
Really gnarly.
And I can hardly recollect the last few hours, perhaps even days. I awoke with several empty whiskey bottles and dead bodies sprawled across the roof. Not too far from the scene was my gory 9-iron and a phonograph playing a solemn French song about life in a city I will never truly know.
Hot town.
I turned the bodies over one by one, and they vaguely resembled those who had forsaken me in this infernal prison. I must have conjured them and destroyed them in the same evening. But with a 9-iron, I imagined far worse fates for them. I even have a journal devoted to dark and creative ideas on how I might actually one day make them pay for their corruption and impertinence. Arcus, 337. At first glance, the endless bloodshed seems to be an act to satisfy some destructive instinct within the entity. This seems to me a reductionist distortion of something more sophisticated, something more intricate, something even sacred. Beyond the horror, the shedding of blood and the very real appearance of death puts us in touch with life and can be an intoxicating and highly addictive experience on the deepest and most archaic levels. When our blood or our life force is offered to the entity, it can be seen as a gift that is soon returned to us so that the horror may continue again and again. The world constantly churns with life and death and life, the circulation of blood through an old one from heart to body to kidney, back to the heart again to be purified and begin anew.
Interesting.
Arcus 1007. A new doorway has opened. For how long? I'm not sure, nor have I ever been right, even with my best guesses. Through the door of my study and into a lost and forgotten realm, moss-grown, stone homes, with doorways barricaded with wagons, planks of wood, and decaying corpses tangled in barbed wire. I walk by the homes, gazing at the residual memories of soldiers killing villagers with swords for no other reason than the thrill of it. I can't make out which era or terror world this realm is from. I search the realm for hints of how one may open an actual doorway back home. Somewhere in these memories and forgotten realms is the answer to my salvation. But which ones? Which ones indeed?
Huh. I was gonna say that kind of sounds like the Wraith, I want to say? As like a guess just from the previous tome with whatever world he was peeking into, but I don't remember bodies on barbed wire, because that could also be Huntress. But I don't know. Probably
Arcus, 2217.
not. Oh!
I have uncovered to my amazement and bewilderment memories of Claudette that are unlike any of those I've previously experienced. One might even say they should not belong to her, and yet they are hers. I surmise these memories may belong to another Claudette from another Terra world, suggesting that this old one may have clear preferences at the cosmic buffet for certain souls. It will take more samples of these memories to know if they are in fact from another Claudette, or if, and it is possible, I am having troubles deciphering between her actual memories and her creative musings.
Multi-universe Claudette, or just Claudette just being an artist or something, or an artiste.
Arcus,
Or something like that.
8557. I tremble as I scribble this down.
Oh,
Squid-like
yeah.
creatures
It's possible,
difficult to
Salem.
describe attempt to penetrate my
That's
tower,
possible.
trying to destroy my study and tools to explore and manifest. I held them off for as long as I could. Then,
The
taking
Orus,
the
that's
Orus
his
and other
little
valuables, I rushed
thing.
through a doorway and hid in a lost realm. When I returned, the tower was upside down. My study completely ransacked. The creatures lay dead on the floor with black putrid blood leaking out of them, and the
Yeah.
smell of decaying fish was everywhere.
Yeah.
What are these creatures, and who is sending them if not this brutish monster of an old one? I spent hours cursing and throwing these fetid carcasses out my window and back into the abyss.
That's gross.
Arcus, 5738. An odd impulse caused me to climb to the roof and light a single candle in the pitch blackness of it all. When the candle extinguished, I thrust myself off the roof and plunged to my certain death. But somehow
That's
ended
a
up
mood.
back in bed as though I was waking up from a
It's a
nightmare.
fucking mood.
I don't know what I was thinking, but what it has shown me is this. Death is not an
Ah,
illusion.
that's almost the slogan of the game. Yeah, yeet!
Arcus, 1275. I have often wondered if those trapped here have ever paused to reflect upon the inexplicable significance of this world that defies not only time and space, but death. A world made of memories that is neither consistent or constant. Something akin to a collective dream, made of the collective memories and beliefs of its inhabitants. Sometimes I wonder if not all worlds were like this in some respect, and that reality is what we in fact dream it to be, or believe it to be.
Now we're kind of getting into like Bioshock Infinite territory. Something akin to a collective dream made of the collective memories and beliefs of its inhabitants. Sometimes I wonder if not all worlds were like this in some respect, and that reality is what we in fact dream it to be or believe it to be. Yeah, that does sound like some fucking Bioshock Infinite shit.
Arcus, 8545.
I hope they don't go that route.
I was woken mid-slumber by a delirium of shrieks and destruction, so that I rushed to the closet window to see only the endless black
Closest.
fog swirling outside.
Closest window.
Things
See,
in
let
the
me
fog
read.
were coming to life and dying simultaneously, as though the entity were sick or in some kind of shock. Creatures roared and fought and tore each other apart somewhere in the raging abyss, and it was both entertaining and unsettling. I grabbed a 9-iron and held it at the ready, waiting for some apparition to attack me, but within moments, It was all over, and I couldn't sleep. So I took the edge off with a little whiskey and golf on the roof, the whole while cursing this blasted old one, and hoping that what I had just experienced was nothing more than cosmic indigestion.
Yeah. Let me read. Come on, DBD. Let me be the narrator here. I won't mess up words like closest instead of closet window. Closet window doesn't even make any sense. No, it's alright. I'm kidding. I mean, if DBD wants to obviously throw the big bucks at me, I'm totally serious about that. But like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I too. Yes, I too get indigestion. But is it cosmic indigestion? That's the key there. Didn't sleep, so I took the edge off with a little whiskey and golf on the roof. So he's just hitting. I guess he's just hitting golf balls into the void or something. I'm not exactly sure. I don't think he's playing like an actual game of golf up on the roof of wherever this is at.
Arcus 8789.
Uh-oh.
There are dead bodies in my study, and I have no recollection of the last few days. The bodies have been flayed from head to toe, and the faces have been beaten to an unrecognizable pulp.
That's creepy.
I dragged them to the window and thrust them out into the abyss, wondering who they were and why were they in my tower. Did I manifest them? Did I create them for company? Or did they come from somewhere else? Had I been the one who butchered them? Had I lost myself so deeply in a memory that I became someone else for a short time? Perhaps they are not my creations, but apparitions from the fog sent by the entity, like the creatures I hear lurking about in the fog now and then.
Huh. Interesting. Why aren't these creatures seen in the game? Why is it just fucking with whoever this guy is with his Argus? New Killer Vigo, maybe?
Arcus 5798. Incidents don't make sense anymore. Nothing does. Everything is a chaotic blur of unreal apparitions and jumbled memories. I can barely recognize my own thoughts or distinguish my memories from those I've been studying. Last night, I relived the most horrific murders in my collection with a strange kind of pleasure.
Hey, keep it PG here, pal. When I had
enough.
Huh.
I looked in the mirror and did not see myself, but dozens of faces morphing in and out of each other, every possible face except my own.
Was one of them Claudette?
I thrust my fist into the mirror, and my hand split and blood was everywhere.
Oh, that's 7 years bad luck. That's what you get.
What cruel fate has befallen me that I should lose myself in the darkness while trying to escape its deadly grasp?
Orus,
The
not
Orus
Argus, sorry.
will either be my salvation or my downfall.
Yeah. Interesting. So it seems like whatever this is here is reaching a climax, I have to say. Which, I mean, first off, that wraps up the tome, by the way. I'm going to sit up here. Yeah, this was kind of a disappointment by default, because it's recycled content. Just to go back to here for a sec, this is, unfortunately, this gets somewhat of a thumbs down for me. Granted, I know maybe some people that are new to the game weren't around 2018, but for me, it was kind of a thumbs down because of the recycled cutscenes and everything and whatnot. It was fun to read. It was fun to reread all over again, but in terms of what this tome offered, I was expecting some new, fresh content with whatever the hell else that they can, go over Blight with. But this is why I said Blight was 2 years in the making, and it just came out as a disappointment. Because again, to go back what Salem said in the chat, you basically have a killer that's being hyped up, being able to make people freak out with the fucking serum, and also be an addict himself, but like his ability is basically, you know, a children who has a sugar high in fucking Walmart, basically. So I was just seeing this again. If you haven't seen it, feel free to, you know, check it out, check out the cutscenes, yada yada yada. But like, and then we had this, the new stuff on.
In the vast
shut up.
desert of
Shut up.
rumble and
Shut up.
crumbling.
Then we had the new stuff on Mr. Talbot Grimes, aka the Blight. I kind of feel they should have lumped this with this. It's just me. Or just make Blight a more serious killer than ping, 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 ping. So I feel like that is probably the worst one. But again, the cutscenes are pretty cool. And at the time, it was like, holy shit, this is totally unexpected. I hope that they keep up the work of the, you know, the drawing and all that stuff here. So I would say this is probably the fourth best because of that alone. Third place gets, again, more of the Blight stuff here. But that one, if I can go back to that cutscene real quick here, this fucking shot, yeah, this right here, that's going to be a fucking wallpaper, if you ask me. Yeah, real quick, let me, if I can pull that open, I'm just getting that right quick. That's a fucking wallpaper. Bam. That looks so goddamn cool. Real quick here, we can, yeah, see? That's insane. That is insane. I might just throw that in with the Fortnite stuff. But, yeah, that's pretty badass. I kind of hope we move on from the Blight. I'm kind of tired as well of his story. Because he was in, again, 2 years in the making with this stuff. The previous tome, and now here he is getting fucked or whatever by the entity and the 9 dark figures, which happen to be pillars. Second best, ooh. I think would have to go to Nia. Both the story and the cutscene as well, because like literally like 4 or 5 pages, which is basically like, huh, I'm Nia, I gotta figure out that water's good for people and poison water's bad. I should stand up for a cause. And it was more like Casey just basically being the woke AF protester that Nia should be and all that. Water, me think glass. And Casey just basically trying to smarten her up. Because Nia is a Neanderthal. Through and through. But the cutscene of the mayor guy being all fat and gross in the diner and then freaking out because his car got vandalized with spray paint, with that I'm sure he could just easily, you know, pay to remove all the paint. I don't know why he freaked out over that. Like, I don't know. And then him trying to commit attempted vehicular manslaughter, which, by the way, when he crashed the car, it would have been incredibly hilarious if they just animated Nia, like, urban evasioning away with her scooch. That would be incredible. That would have been like, alright, this gets number 1. This is the best. That would have been tremendous. But the fact that she's just, like, just a complete fucking blockhead to her friend, and Casey's more of a down-to-earth, ear to the ground, smart individual, and Nia's just like, why should I care about this? I go around skateboarding, ha ha ha. You know. And of course, I think the best one, I hate to do it, but I think the best one is probably A Man Named Boy. Mr. Max Thompson Jr., who, I don't even know if he figured out who his actual name was. But she did absolute caveman SpongeBob meme at the car crash, not gonna lie. There you go, further proof that Nia is indeed a cave woman. Both her and David have something in common there. But yeah, the best one, and I was really hoping he would have been animated making bacon, because that would also be a wallpaper. Just a hillbilly, just, you know, with an apron on, just sizzling some bacon and such. Oh, incredible. David just keeps getting his ass kicked anytime there's a killer release. Yeah, he's a goof at this point. First one you could kind of sort of make a claim for to like CTE or something, or maybe he just confused Legion to being like a friend. But the fact that, you know, Victor just fucking clowned him again. Yeah, biggest himbo for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, the best one again is probably the hillbilly story. It's such a sad tale of abuse and neglect and vengeance in the long run, you know? Whenever I go up against a hillbilly, I'm just gonna be like, oh man, you had such a rough upbringing, buddy. I'll be like, you know what, you can chainsaw me or something. That's the thing that kills me, is people either characterize him as a big dumb himbo sweetheart who tries his best, or a sleazeball kills me. What, hillbilly or David? I think if that's hillbilly, then yeah. Because, like, that kind of explains what... Oh, David. Oh, well. I don't know. I don't think David's a sleaze. He just has a ripped body, that's all. Hillbilly, it could also be a big dumb himbo or a sweetheart who tries his best, really. Especially if you praise his work, you know? He would be less of a killer. Because that's all he was looking for. He was just looking for love. For, you know, what he did. And instead, he just got abused and all this other stuff here. It's just how people decide to characterize him. Max is absolutely a sweetheart. That is my son. Oh, man. But yeah, real quick, before we wrap things up, both on the video here and for the stream, because we're out of time, because I just saw the clock and it's like mega late. I'm trying to think of who else that they can go for. It was really weird. This is the thing that kind of struck me as kind of strange. There was challenges for the clown, but there was no mention of the clown whatsoever in any of those entries. So in terms of characters that are left that haven't gotten their own tome, isolated entry or anything like that, Nurse, Clown, Plague, Oni, Deathslinger, Twins. So there's 6 of those, and then on the survivor side... There's... Let's see, they've done Dwight, they've done Meg, Claude. They haven't done Jake yet. I think he might be the next one in the upcoming tome, I would say. Jake, Fang, Kate. No, they did Kate. I'm sorry. Adam, Jeff, Yui, Zarina, Richter, and Elodie. 8. So, for homegrown talent, they haven't. They've got some folks still to work with, but unless we're getting some like licensed weird fan fiction for backstories and such, I don't know what they're gonna do in terms of like future upcoming tome content. So I'm very interested in that. So according to where all the leaks have been coming from, the next one should be about Claudette. I don't know why. Yui, Oni, and Nurse. Ooh. Which means Oni and Nurse challenges, since they have some of the challenges leaked too. Oh, that's gonna be rough. That's gonna be rough. So we actually have to get a leg. If that actually is true, we gotta get a leg up on getting these guys up to 50 and then practicing our fucking Nurse game for sure. Because that's gonna be mega shitty, you know? perform, like, one seems to be perform 3 precise blinks in a trial. Okay, so that's basically blink, blink, and then hit somebody. Nurse blink, chain multiple, hit in a trial. Huh. Oh dear. That might be our hardest set of challenges yet. Perform 4 demon strikes. That's not too bad. I mean, Oni's not easy, but he's not exactly hard either. I think a majority of, if people don't like Hillbilly now, they can just play Oni and feel satisfied with his big old dick stick. Knock down 8 people with... Oh, yeah, that's easy. Emote point at killer with premonition perk. Here come boops. Well, here comes death. Here comes people dying. Dying on hook. I don't care if you're going for challenges or not. Don't fucking boot me. Anyway, Oni and Nurse, along with Claudette and Yui. Why? I don't understand why Claudette again. Like, Jake hasn't even gotten a single one yet, and yet they're still, they were gonna redo Claudette. Which, I mean, to be fair, all Claudette's was when she was a child, a young babu, and all of a sudden she wanted, like, to learn science as a kid, and she got a science kit, and that was it. Like, here, real quick. Like, we can play it back here, because we have that technology. Hold on. Like, this is literally all of her thing was. She gets home from school. Hey! Look who got an A+ and is on the fridge. I was like, hey, sweetie, come here, I got a present for you. Happy birthday! New science kit. There you go, that's it. That's all it was. So maybe it's actually... I could see them going with Claudette again instead of, like, baby Claudette, instead of, like, Claudette working at Whole Foods or something like that. So... I mean, if this is anything to go by, we're halfway through all of the tomes. So, 5 down, 5 more to go, perhaps, if they don't decide to add more. So we'll see how this plays out. And then, yeah, I don't know what the future of DBD holds, but man, it's wild, I have to say. It's absolutely wild. I think it technically goes like certain killer survivor link together, maybe. So like Claudette to Nurse, maybe, considering the botany knowledge and self-care linking to the healing things of Nurse, perhaps. Yeah. Jake was linked in people's minds to Huntress, since both are out in the woods and just yeeted. Yeah, but Huntress will fucking wreck shit. All Jake does is sabotage things with his hands. So, yeah, tomorrow we're going to be bringing back the Isaac Daily. That should be fun. And then we're going to be leveling... I think we're going to start the leveling train again, once again, here on just the square. We're going to start from Executioner, and then go to Blight, and then we'll go to Legion, and then we'll go to Ghostface. Get them up to 30. Get Nurse up to 50. And then start working on the twins here a little bit, I have to say. So, we'll see how that goes as well. Now that we're done with the totem. So that's what's in store tomorrow. And also, yeah, again, if you happen to... That's going to be it for the tome portion. Again, it's also going to be it for the stream.